having heads that you can pull better levers on with QI35 than you could with QI10, I've heard from a bunch of fitters, has made the amateur game and the weekend guy fit better into a QI35 product than a QI10 product, just because two guys on tour that are very, very, very good are playing an old special model. Let's keep in mind, does not mean that QI35 failed, because it's still it's killing it in retail and in fitting base.
Well, that's the perception also. Like, you hit the nail on the head. It's just two players that are giving it that stigma, right? Like,
Yeah.
but if one of the trends on tour is big players not playing current line drivers, like Xander still plays AI Smoke, and there's a lot of Callaway
Yep.
staffers that are in older heads. And the one thing we've said on the show before, like, what happens out on tour is not a testimonial of the quality of a driver. Like, there's a million different reasons why clubs stay and play on any of the big tours. Like, the hope of the OEMs is that the new product goes in, but ultimately, like, these guys are playing for millions of dollars, and you get somebody like if you guys want to know what happened with Scotty Scheffler and the QI, so he has a QI 35 that he hits exactly the same way he hits his QI 10, like shot for shot. Like, it's as good, or maybe even slightly better. The opportunity that he had to switch was when his driver failed at the PGA Championship. So he had a QI 10 and a QI 35 in his locker, right? So the psychology was like, I don't want to change looks at a major. So I'm just going to grab the QI 10 because that one I know, even though I hit this QI 35 great, but during a major, I don't want to look at a different crown. I want to look at the same one I've been looking at forever. That's why it's still in the bag. Like, he has a QI 35 he could swap out. He just hasn't found the right testing time to get used to it, which, he might over the fall, and who knows. But it's not a commentary on the quality of a thing, because you hit the nail on the head. QI 35 at retail is killing. Like, it's absolutely killing. And I know a ton of players that are just normal players that swear by it because their driving got better. So,
I love mine.
so anyway, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting case study in psychology about, like, the perception of what goes out on tour versus actually what reality is.
Yeah.
Because
One
QI 35
other
did have a good
caveat.
year. Go ahead.
Sorry, Jada. One other caveat I think that people might forget at this right at the start of the year as well is why didn't Scotty do all this testing at the start of the year? And when he injured his hand at that kind of start of the season, and he cut his hand and he had all those weeks out, so he wasn't in great form at the start of the season. And you're never going to switch drivers into anything new when you're not in great form and you're trying to kind of find it. So that kind of testing window where he would normally get into a new driver, he missed that because of the injury to his hand. And Rory was sort of the same way, because he was really just relentlessly chasing his pursuit of the Masters. If it wasn't him being so focused on playing his best golf at Augusta, I think it's highly likely we see both of those guys in TaylorMade's new driver come the start of the 2026 season, because they'll be testing in the proper window, which, to you said, is probably the fall right now. Because remember back to Tommy was I think the first top player that they started testing QI 35 with. That was in June 2024.
Right.
That was in the middle of the summer. They had him over at the Kingdom in June 2024, and he got really comfortable with it, got some great numbers. Obviously, started off with Ventus Red, ended up out of that, like Jake said, into a shaft that's clearly working better for him now. But he was doing that testing, 6 to 8 months before he was going to put it in play. So
Yeah.
both of those guys missed that testing window, which is why they stuck to what they loved. And they're still the two top players in the game. So you kind of have to tip your hat to TaylorMade for giving those two guys the opportunity to play what made them more comfortable. But hopefully everyone learns a lesson that let's get this work done. Let's November 1, let's get this work done and let's start doing testing.